Dr. Leo and I have the most watched beekeeping videos on YouTube, okay? So you guys are going to get a lot of knowledge out of this. Share it with your kids because this is a great homeschool material. And I'll see you guys when it's over.
Dr. Leo with horizontalhive.com, and I'm here at Doug's homestead, and we'll do the spring inspection of his beehive together. And if you are new to Doug's beekeeping videos, the way we're doing things differently is, instead of purchasing bees in the spring, this time of year, Doug caught a free swarm from his own farm, and it's been going on for years and years. And we are also using horizontal hives that are well insulated and provide bees with very good habitat, so they can stay healthy and productive with minimal intervention from us humans, the beekeeper. And you can find more details on horizontalhive.com. So as you can tell, the setup is very simple. There are not many different boxes to go through. We'll open it. It's very easy and straightforward, and it's also less disturbance for the bees, because to do the spring inspection to see how they overwintered, we do not have to break boxes apart and to mess up their home. The first thing you need to do is to remove your wedding ring or any other rings you may be wearing. I'm giving you permission to do so. Alright, I actually carry a small box to safely keep the ring in my pocket while I'm working the bees. So the reason for removing the ring is if you were to be stung on this finger and it starts swelling, it would interrupt the flow of blood to that finger because of the ring, and then you'll have to choose between your wedding ring and the finger, which is a really uncomfortable choice. Okay, now that we have our rings off, I'm starting the smoker. It's very straightforward. Use some junk mail or other uncoated paper. Let it burn a little bit and then put your fuel. There's nothing fancy about smoker fuel either. They sell it in beekeeping catalogs, but actually my favorite bee fuel is dried sumac berries. If you have sumac growing where you live, you can use that. You can use straw, leaves, cardboard, burlap, whatever you have handy, something that can burn and then smolder. So the key to it, though, is to start the smoker and let it burn for a minute or two to warm up the can. That's why it has this protection here, because it should get very hot to sustain this smoldering action. I never overuse the smoke. Sometimes I don't have to use much smoke at all, but it's good to have your smoker going and ready in case you see that bees start being agitated and pay too much attention to you. Okay, let's see how these bees overwintered. Oh my gosh! This year spring is very early. Down where I am in the Ozarks, all the blooming, everything has been 3 weeks ahead of time. So this hive has like 15 frames left from the previous year, and look, it's already boiling over with the bees. So the purpose of the spring inspection is to see whether bees have enough stores. Well, you can see that the bees overwintered and they're in a very good shape just by watching at the entrance. Another thing is to give them extra room so that the queen has more room to lay eggs, and then I see so many different flowers popping up to make sure they have enough room to store honey too. This time of year it would be dandelions and dead nettle. And look at all this beautiful propolis that the bees are making. You know, one of the great products other than honey from the hive is this bee resin called propolis. It's so helpful and also a wonderful product to sell if you have your own bees. In old times they were using this as chewing gum to purify your mouth instead of toothpaste because it kills germs. And wild bees produce much more propolis than the commercial bees that you could buy as packaged bees. It's a great benefit because this kills germs and keeps bees healthier than the commercial bees would be. In the old days, this horizontal hive beekeeping was called simplified beekeeping, because with whatever we do, we very rarely have to find the queen. In conventional beekeeping, many operations revolve around finding the queen, killing the old queen from the previous year, giving them a new queen for this year. We don't have to do anything like that here. Whatever we need to do, we can do without finding the queen. So I just see they have nectar. Do you see this liquid glistening at the bottom of the cells? So they have nectar on the very last frame, and lots of nectar on this one too, meaning they have stores. They even have some capped honey left from the previous year. And of course, the number of the bees tells you that this colony overwintered beautifully, and all you need to do is give them more frame, because they will start storing honey pretty soon. If you want to increase your number of hives, you could take a few frames with brood, which means eggs and small larvae, and put them in a different box, and they would raise a new queen and start a new colony. Look how beautiful it is. Oh yeah, see the drones? When you see these big guys, and by the way, you can grab them because they have no stinger, they're not going to sting you. And these are the male bees. They don't collect honey. The only thing they do is impregnate queens from other hives. And if you see drones in the spring, first it says that very soon the bees will start swarming, reproducing. So you need to have your swarm traps out. And another thing it tells you is that the colony is healthy and strong, because only a strong, healthy colony can afford the resources of rearing a large number of male bees, which are called drones. I love these fuzzy guys. By the way, you know, if you do beekeeping where you have to catch a queen, sometimes it's a very good idea to practice on the drone. When you catch a bee, you need to hold them by the thorax, which is the shoulders. Never hold the bee or the queen by the abdomen, because it can disturb her ovaries and interfere with her egg laying later. So we don't have to go through the entire box, because we already answered the first question. Do they have enough food? In some climates, sir, you may go through a lot of honey in the winter and early spring, and there can be a chance of bees starving in the spring, so you might have to feed them. And by the way, feeding bees doesn't mean giving them sugar. The traditional way of feeding bees is saving one of these frames with honey in your cellar or just in any box. And if your bees are hungry, you give them back their own honey. So this practice that's prevalent today of taking all the honey from the bees and giving them back sugar water is not good. Actually, 100 years ago, one of the great grandfathers of American beekeeping, Doolittle, was writing in his book that he thought that the practice of feeding bees sugar should be illegal, because once you put sugar in the hive, you have no control of it being mixed with the rest of the honey, and then the product you sell is not really 100% honey anymore. It's a mixture of honey plus the sugar water that you fed to the bees. Doug or I, we do not do anything like that, so these bees were never fed sugar. And if we were to find that feeding is required for this hive in the spring, then we would just grab one of the frames of capped honey from reserve and put it there for the bees to feed on. Okay, more nectar. So not only they have reserve, but they have fresh nectar coming in. When I was coming to Doug's homestead, I saw all these fields of dead nettle, hand-beat dead nettle in bloom now. And I thought, gosh, bees are really well fed here. It's another point, you know, feeding the bees is not about giving them sugar, it's about having enough flowers for them. So bees can only starve in a landscape where agriculture or urban development has taken away their food resources from them. If they're in a natural environment, they will certainly be able to feed themselves. In the old time, beekeepers were saying it's crazy to feed bees because it should be the other way around. But isn't it like with other animals too? We have chickens, and what my daughter loves the most is feeding the chickens, not getting eggs from them or meat, it's feeding the chickens. Some people enjoy it too with the bees, but you know, for me, it's been completely self-sufficient. It's just like that, the joy of opening the hive and seeing a healthy colony thriving without any intervention from you. Like, you don't need to feed bees, they've been doing it for a very long time. They figured out this part already. All right, on the next frame is what's called brood. Baby bees are in the form of eggs, little larvae, and cat brood. So without finding or seeing the queen, if you see these cells that look like they're covered with sandpaper, or the ones that are sticking out like that, like bullets, these are drone cells with males inside. But if you see brood, that means there is a laying queen. So if you look more closely, you see that the white grubs in the bottom of the cells are really vigorous looking and healthy looking. If you were to see some that look like toothpaste, they start decomposing in the cells before the cell even can be hatched. If instead of this nice patch of brood you're seeing lots and lots of empty cells, that means that some of the larvae died and they drag them out. It could be a sign of a colony that's struggling. But here you have a thriving colony with lots and lots of bees. You have lots and lots of reserves, and you have healthy brood. That's all we need to see during the spring inspection. So we'll add a couple frames now so they have more room for egg laying for the queen and for storing the nectar that's already coming in. And we'll close the hive. Just beautiful. We'll add, before closing the brood nest, on the very edge of the brood nest, we will add a couple more frames. But to give space to the frames, we need to remove this divider board. It's glued with this propolis, so it's not coming out all at once. You need to break that propolis seal and take it out. Shake the bees back in. All right, now we slide this back. We make room for a couple of frames, and the frames we pulled honey from, extracted honey from last year. They were stored and now we're putting that back in. If there are any imperfections on the frame like this, bees will repair it. They will get busy cleaning the cells and warming them up, and then the queen will come and lay more eggs there. So that's enough for today, but you know, within a week or so, on a nice day with the weather in the 60s or 70s, Doug will go in and look in the depths of the brood chamber and see whether he would want to make what's called an artificial swarm or a split, taking a few frames from this hive to start another colony. If not, a couple of weeks from now, he will spread frames apart here in the middle and put the remaining 3 frames into the hive to give bees room to store more honey and to expand their brood nest. And that's it. It's as simple as that. Some people write to me saying, oh, you know, it couldn't be as simple as that. We need a 300-page long manual. Well, we do have a great book called Keeping Bees with a Smile about this style of beekeeping. But in terms of management, there really is minimal management like that. Today, it looks surprising to people who are familiar or not familiar with beekeeping, but it was the norm 100 years ago or 200 years ago. So welcome to the world of keeping bees with a smile. You know, sometimes people ask me, why don't I wear protection? No gloves, no veil, no jacket. Is it because I am a bee whisperer and then they never sting me? They actually do. Look, I got the sting here, and I'm not removing the sting straight away because most people think about honey as the only beneficial product of the hive, but actually bee sting therapy is another great thing that many people have used for preventing or reverting arthritis and many other things. There are books written about that, and in very ancient time, bee stings were used and were believed to be one of the first acupuncture needles in China. So what it does, once the venom penetrates under the skin, and by the way, the bee detaches a small sac, it's called the venom sac, so that the venom is being pumped inside your skin even after the bee left. So this venom will create kind of an inflammation in this area. And inflammation means more blood, more oxygen, and the body paying more attention to this area. And it helps many people with all kinds of things. So I'd like to tell you how I use this. You know, for me, this is not a problem. That's one of the benefits of doing natural beekeeping, is that I'm being stung once in a while. And a local naturopath where I live charges you $60 to give you 4 stings like that. And look, with all of the bees here, I could be a millionaire by now. I can give myself at no cost as many stings as I like. You know, in this country, people like to rely on surgeries or pharmaceuticals when they have health problems. At least many people do. You don't realize how much tradition and experience is outside of this conventional medicine out there. In this country, there were beekeepers in the 1950s, 60s who were treating thousands of people with bee stings for arthritis and many other autoimmune conditions. There are books written about that. You don't hear too much about it anymore, but the practice continues. And you know, you wouldn't find anyone to treat you for that because they need to have a license for that. But if you have your own bees and you want to explore it as one another benefit of the beehive, you can do so on your own. Here are a few pointers though. If you keep bees already, or if you were stung by a bee recently, you know whether you are allergic to bee stings or not. You need to be careful first, because some people can have a very severe allergic reaction to a bee sting. So let's rule that out. If you are not certain, just buy yourself EpiPen and carry the syringe with you just in case when you first try it. But then, if you give yourself the first sting, don't leave it like that for a minute until it stops pulsating. Just when the bee stings you, remove the stinger within a few seconds. Just do it as a trial to see whether you swell, how much you swell. And the vast majority of people, it may be painful, but it will not start swelling or like constricting your throat. Just pay attention to the signs of allergy. If not, you can proceed to the next step, is just, you know, deciding how could bee stings benefit you. And if you read in literature some of the things that they were commonly used for, anything connected with muscle and joint pain, well, because many times muscle pain, it's about the muscles staying tense. It's recognized that by providing pressure and needles, etc., it can release the tension in the muscles and give you relief. There are things called, how is it called? Oh, okay. There is this thing called acupressure. There are special mats. They have the plastic things that are basically sleeping on a bed of nails. So all of this pressure on your acupuncture points relieves pain, etc. So it has even endorsement by health authorities today. So with the bee stings, look like it's creating a little inflammation there. It's completely natural and good for you. Eventually you can remove the stinger. So, people have been using it for muscle pain, joint pain, arthritis. There is a book written by Charles Mraz, a Vermont beekeeper from the last century who lived to be 90 plus years old, and over his career as the commercial largest size beekeeper in Vermont, he treated more than 1,000 people, like thousands of people, for arthritis and multiple sclerosis and many other nasty things, getting very good results. So you don't have to have a professional do it for you, because books are out there, you can go and explore. But basically, for example, people work on the computer and they develop pain in the fingers. You go to a doctor, they will recommend the surgery or something. Well, but if your muscles here are too tense from you, like keeping your hands in the natural position, one of the natural ways of doing it is just, you know, let these muscles relax, and this local inflammation is one of the mechanisms that can help that. So if you have shoulder pain or like neck pain, lower back pain, people like putting it on the meridians, and it's not like something you should read about in the book, because you can feel these acupressure or acupuncture points yourself. Like if your shoulder hurts, you know, another complaint that the natural naturopath, the naturopath that lives close to where I live, treats people for. If you have shoulder pain, like there are painful points like around here that you can feel, and then when you find this point, you mark it with a marker, and then you grab a bee and you put that bee on that point. If you're concerned about the pain, take a cube of ice and put that ice on that point for 1 minute before applying the bee, and it will desensitize the skin. You will not feel it there. In the Soviet Union, they were even treating people with their spine cord injury, to recover the sensation in their legs and arms, etc., after traffic accident, etc. And if you search online about the use of bee venom, even today in controlled studies and experiments, there is a lot of research going on, and I'm using it a lot. Oh, another thing, it's believed that bee stings, for whatever reason, they help with the mood and can fight depression and other things. And I can relate to that too. If I'm not in the right mood, I can go out to the bee yard and give myself a few stings just by working with the bees, and the mood really does improve. A few years ago, I was spending a lot of time on the computer printing. I was editing the books. Keeping Bees with a Smile was translated from Russian, and Keeping Bees in Horizontal Hives is the classical book that was translated from French. And I translated a few more great beekeeping books that you can find on horizontalhive.com. But that meant spending a lot of time on the computer typing. And I did start developing this, numbness and very painful sensation in this part of my hands, on this hand and on this hand. So what I did then is just, feeling in my arms and shoulders for very, very sensitive points. And for me personally, one was around here. And there are special names for that in Chinese medicine. But again, I didn't read the books, even though some books will show you all of these meridians and the points. Really, how they found it is just, you working with your own body and finding this extremely sensitive spot. Like, sometimes you press it and like you feel, oh gosh, something's contracting in you. So some spots will be very, very painful. And for me, one was here and one was here. So the one over here is still sensitive. So let me show you that. Okay, so I keep feeling for that. And then when I find it, if somebody's helping you, or if you are doing it for someone, I put the mark here. All right, and then we're ready to get some bees. So if you do not have access to the bees like your own beehive, if you know a beekeeper nearby, you can borrow some of their bees. And the easiest way to do it is to take a mason jar and put it over the entrance of the active hive for a couple of seconds. Then you'll have a weekly supply of bees. This is how it works. You don't have bees of your own, but you can use somebody else's bees with permission. So all you have to do is just, come and cover the entrance with this jar. So forager bees that are flying out of the hive will be flying straight into this jar. And you just count to see how many bees you need. 1, 2, etc. And you can store these bees for a couple of weeks. Okay, you close it. If you store them long term, you want to put some tissue paper there with a little bit of water and honey on the tissue paper, or some cardboard for them to have structures if it was honeycomb, and punch a little small holes in the lid so they do not suffocate. But bees, put them in a dark spot, like in the cupboard, so they don't see the light and they're not agitated trying to get out. Right, when the time comes to give yourself a bee sting, one thing you can do, bee will be very active crawling there. If you want to slow them down, you can put it in a freezer for just a few minutes. With lower temperature, their metabolism slows and they will be very sluggish. You will be able to handle them very easily. Another option is to spray just a little bit of water there, and this will glue their wings together and they won't be able to fly out when you open the jar. Again, we'll release that bee. But if you needed to have some bees for your use during the week, you could store them for a week or two in a mason jar. It will be more convenient for me to show you how to apply bee sting here. There is an acupressure point here between these two fingers that traditionally was seen as related to the heart meridian. And if you massage this point, there is just one that's extremely painful, and it really shoots all the way up the arm and goes to around the chest. Alright, so when you grab a bee, you want to grab the bee by the wings. This way she cannot fly off. and she cannot sting you. Alright, like that. And she will start curving her abdomen and opening up the sting chamber. And then you put the tip of the abdomen there where you want the sting to be. And sometimes it takes a little while to harass the bee into stinging you. Some are very docile. I'm sorry. Okay, this one stung me in this finger. Alright. Alright, so when the stinger is inserted, it has a barb on the end of it, and the barb prevents the stinger from coming out. Again, if you find this experience painful, you can apply a cube of ice here. And see how it's pulsating even after the bee detached itself and flew off? So this action will continue for 5 to 6 minutes, and this is how you can regulate the amount of venom that's being injected. First you may start slow, just 5-10 seconds, but eventually let it sit for a whole minute or two. And you will feel all of these points around, for example, if your forearm or your shoulder hurts, like pressure it. You will find a few of these points and alternate between them. That book by Charles Mraz, the famous Vermont beekeeper I mentioned, who was treating thousands of people for all kinds of conditions, including multiple sclerosis and muscle pain and arthritis. So he was giving his clients, whom he was treating at no cost for years and years, one stinger in a point every 2 days, and he was moving these points around. So there would be between 2 and 10 stings in a session, but they would not always be in the same spot. And you can find his book and read about the particulars of how he was doing it. So just wanted to mention, because I was stung here when doing the inspection of this hive, how I treat bee stings as just another benefit of doing natural beekeeping.
Someone was asking if they didn't have a big tree, where could they put that? A lot of people put them on their roofs of their houses as well, okay? Hope you guys enjoyed that video. It was really rock solid. If you want to learn more about what Dr. Leo is doing, you could go to horizontalhive.com. All the links are down below under the video. And plus, you could come see him at the Homesteading Life Conference this year. We have him as a speaker. It's the only event he'll be attending this year, and you could come and see him in person, ask him questions, talk to him about the horizontal hive and all that information. A really good fellow and a great place to talk to him in person at the Homesteading Life Conference.com. Okay, make sure you guys smash this thumbs up on the way out, because we're just trying to teach you. We're trying to teach you guys how to be more self-sufficient. We left the city 15 years ago, so we have over a decade and a half worth of experience under our belt. And I just learned about natural beekeeping. It's been about 4 or 5 years, and we've been showing you guys and documenting the results here on our channel, and they speak for themselves. All right, so share the video with your friends, and see you guys on the next video.